Hello, my name is Richard Olver. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of Ondat, and today I'm pleased to talk about the new Ondat SaaS platform. Today we're going to talk about why SaaS, what the goal of SaaS is, how we're going to get there, and a quick preview. So why SaaS? I love this quote from DevOps.com talking about the top-down sales motion largely doesn't work for cloud native world. Ultimately, it says that the bottom-up community adoption approach is the right way, and developers are calling the shots. This isn't the first time this has been noted. Atlassian was largely one of the first companies to do this very successfully, and we're all passionate users of Jira and Confluence, and recently GitLab had a very successful IPO by focusing on developers. And then MongoDB, of course, everyone knows that database platform, which took the world by storm and has been very successful. Another good quote here is by the CEO of SNCC. To build a community, you need to focus as much more on the user than on the buyer. And interestingly, one would say that SNCC is a developer or DevOps company focused on solving a security problem. And we are Ondat are a developer and DevOps company really focused on solving a storage problem. So the SaaS platform is going to enable us to engage our users, the platform engineers, the developer professionals, and learn from them to co-develop a solution together that suits and meets their needs. It's a product-led, bottoms-up growth strategy. So let's talk about the goals of the platform. The first goal is to authenticate users really easily and help them engage with us, adopt, and use the platform more quickly with great documentation and a good onboarding experience. Once they're on board, and if they want to procure the technology, we want to make that easy. We want to have transparent pricing, have an embedded customer service capability to help them move and answer questions around the platform. And again, tied into a good developer experience and great documentation. And this then all needs to be wrapped around the third point, which is a centralized UI or UX in order for a platform manager or a developer to be able to manage all of their persistent volumes across all of their applications, across all platforms and clouds, whether that might be AWS or even on-premises. So let's talk about how we're going to get there. So the first phase that we'll be launching in this tech preview is a monitoring stage. And what we're looking to do here is just allowing a developer to connect to their Kubernetes clusters, get a unified view of all of their applications and persistent volumes, and have a basic level of observability. With that feedback, we'll increase the depth of observability, but also enable developers and platform managers to have control, configure, manage persistent volumes across those applications, and also look at managing persistent volumes across different Kubernetes clusters potentially, and automating and integrating existing tooling. So ultimately, to the developer building an application, it's simply a data service and transparent. The last phase is then it's really expanding the marketplace. And what we mean by here is providing an ecosystem, an environment where developers and partners can go and build, manage, and maintain the golden container images and best practices for delivering the developer's favorite stateful database. So maybe it's deploying and managing the MongoDB operator, or working with other technologies like KubeDB in order to ensure that the operations manager, the developer, the platform team, and the storage team are all aligned, configuring the environment in the appropriate way, because ultimately everything behind the marketplace is infrastructure as code, or data as code, as we call it, shifting left the ability for developers to consume data services without having to worry about the underlying storage environment. So what are we not going to be doing? Well, the first thing is we're not going to be providing a Kubernetes orchestrator. Our goal is to be agnostic and work with any orchestrator. So that could be OpenShift, Rancher, Anthos, GKE, EKS, and then the more recently launched EKS Anywhere. And even with some of our government clients, for example, they have their own versions of Kubernetes that they want to work with. So we're completely agnostic. We're not going to be providing an orchestrator. Secondly, we're not going to be hosting the databases on our cloud. We want to give the customers the choice on what cloud they want to run, whether that's AWS or Google or on premises. It's really their choice, and we're purely facilitating that journey. Lastly, we're not going to be specific about the data services you run. We want all of our customers to have the flexibility to run MongoDB, Redis, Kafka, Cassandra, Cockroach Labs, Yugabyte, whatever the application needs in terms of data services, we will support. And in some cases, it might be a managed Kafka environment with 30 Kafka instances running across a shared storage platform that we can help them build. Or it could just be a mixture of all of the databases running on a common multi-tenant service, because ultimately that's what Kubernetes gives us, that horizontal scalability, not just of compute and network, but also storage and data services. So let's have a look. Let's have a walkthrough on the SaaS environment. Initially, what you'll see here is something very common to those applications we talked about before, so Atlassian and GitLab, a social sign-on with Google, and then also, more importantly for our developers, the login with GitHub. And what this allows us to do is help them with the journey and move them through that adoption process quickly. And once they've connected their cluster to Ondat, we can then expose them the ability to engage in the marketplace and deploy the applications they want to. And as I mentioned before, this is the type of experience where a customer can get the best practices for running, for example, Cassandra and Elasticsearch in the platform of their choice, whether it be OpenShift or Anthos or EKS. Ultimately, again, under these buttons, it's all infrastructure as code. There's more going to be announced in this area. It's a big part of our strategy in engaging developers and DevOps professionals. So we'll talk about that in the near future. So moving on, once we're connected and we're up and running, we're going to give the customer, the user, to the ability to configure their persistent volumes, the persistent volume claims. On the left-hand side, you can see the configuration. And on the right-hand side, you can see the YAML that's been dynamically created based upon the customer's choices. And then at that point, they can simply cut and paste that into the CLI. Or in fact, this is just a GUI, which is an option for users. A lot of users will just default straight to the CLI, but this provides an easier way for organizations to deploy stateful workloads with stronger, more refined best practices. Once they've connected, once they've configured, we can provide the inventory. So what are the persistent volumes up and running? What's their status? What's their health? What's their capacity? And what's the application that they're connected to? So we are orienting all of the UX journeys based upon feedback from developers to be application oriented. And that allows the user to drill in and have a closer look and observe what's happening within that persistent volume. So we can start to get greater level of observability on capacity over time. How can we help with day two operations? In this case, it's a MongoDB namespace, and we can also see the primary, and we can see the replicas, and we can see the persistent volume claims. And so this is a view that we've been building, and we will continue to iterate with the SaaS platform based upon user feedback from the community. So if you want to sign up and have a look, we have a web portal here, ondat.online, where you can go and register today. We're already in testing internally, working with our customers to refine the environment. And as soon as it's up and running, we'd love for you to have a go, provide us with your feedback. And if you've got any questions, please feel to reach out to a member of the team. Thank you very much. It's been good to share with you our new SaaS platform and excited to build on the community. Thank you.